Hello, hello, and welcome back to Shelf Talks, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of female founders bringing their product-based businesses to retail shelves. I'm your host, Roberta, and today I'm sitting down with Taylor Walker, the powerhouse co-founder behind Spritzal Cookies. If you've ever dreamed of turning a beloved family recipe into a booming retail brand, this episode is for you. I'm excited to hear how Taylor and her co-founder, her mom, are shaking things up in the cookie aisle. Welcome, Taylor. Thanks for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me. That was such a nice intro. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. All right. So let's just start from the beginning. And if you could tell us a little bit about what you were doing prior to starting the brand.
So I actually joined my mom a little bit after she started Spritzal. I was living in Georgia, working in IT sales. It was my early 20s, first big girl job. So I was just kind of dipping my toe in the water. And my mom started our brand up here based off of my great grandmother's Christmas cookie recipe. So it's called a Spritz cookie. It's a Swedish Christmas cookie that comes out of that like cookie press. Cute little shapes and fun things like that. We used to give them to friends and family growing up. I would give them to like my bosses or like my teachers or some other people around, just kind of like bribe them a little bit. And then people used to ask us like in September when they would get the cookies. So my mom was an empty nester and she was like, maybe I'll give it a go. And we watched a lot of Shark Tank back then. There wasn't like socials. So we saw this mother-daughter team that was Wicked Good Cupcakes and kind of gave us that like a little bit of inspiration. And so she started local at the farmer's market. I would help her with like socials down in Georgia the best I could with photos she would send me from her camera on her phone. And that was early 2000s, like, so it wasn't that great back then. And then I got more and more into it and she got more and more into it. And I realized that Georgia and IT sales were not my thing. I'm from Boston, South Boston. I grew up here and I just really didn't like Atlanta. No offense to Atlanta. I'm sure it's great. I just wasn't used to it. I grew up 5 minutes from the water and I was landlocked and it was hot. And I just was really missing everybody up here.
I need to go home.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, IT sales was not the vibe for me. Like, I'm really good at sales and I'm good at marketing, but it wasn't something I was excited about doing. So when something doesn't excite you and you dread going to work every day instead of being excited about it, maybe that's the time like you need to find something else. So my mom got found by the Whole Foods and Forager in the Massachusetts area doing like some farmers markets, and they approached her and asked her if she'd be interested in pitching to them. They were opening Ink Block, which is like their flagship store in the south end of Boston. And she got accepted, which was really cool. And I hated my job. I called her crying. I was like, I need to move home. So I quit. I gave up my lease. I found somebody to take over my lease. I packed my little puppy in the car and we drove home to Boston. And then 2 days later, we went and auditioned for the first time out of like 5 times already that we've auditioned for Shark Tank. We've never made it. Everybody asks if they've seen us on it. I would love to be on it, but I think that we're doing a pretty good job of ourselves right now. So yeah, and then the rest is history. I was 25 when I did that, and I just turned 35. So 10 years later, been just doing the cookie thing. And then my dad's a commercial contractor. He built out our commercial kitchen, and then we started baking there, and then kind of outgrew that and did a few rebrands. And I don't know, it's just like you blink, and then 10 years later, here you are.
Well, let's begin from the fact that, like, your mother, did she ask you to come and work for the company?
I think that she sensed that I had had enough, and I was like, I think I could help us do something really special with this if you just give me the chance. And at first, it was the mother-daughter dynamic that we've now worked out on who's good at what. But back then, we were baking, bagging, sealing, delivering, like demoing, doing all the things all together, and we didn't have what we have now. So that was a little challenging, but now I think we've worked out the kinks a little bit more than back in the day.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to separate sometimes family dynamics when you're working together. So if she brings something up on the weekend and I'm like, I don't want to talk about work. Like we were just doing our dog walk yesterday and I was like, let's go do something fun and not talk about work. Like table that till Monday.
Yeah.
Like we'll come back to it. But I think that, she was happy to hear that I wanted to try doing something with her. And I don't think she knew, and she says this like all the time, that she didn't think this would be what we do now. It was never like hitting national retail like we did, which is crazy. I don't know. I just couldn't work for anybody else anymore. I found out that I didn't like doing that. And
you like to make your own decisions. And
exactly. So here we are, I guess.
So it sounds like you came on right at the time that you guys got on the shelves of Whole Foods.
Yes, We were about to. We worked with it was called like a shared kitchen, kind of like a grow and go. And now they have like a co-packer side, but it's called Commonwealth Kitchen. So if you're in the Boston area listening and are thinking about starting something, that's a really cool spot. They have like massive commercial areas, rotating ovens. So she moved from our residential house kitchen, cottage license, into that. And then I joined her, and we were driving into Boston and making cookies. And we were finding that commute in the terrible Boston traffic from the south of Boston was tagging on to time that could be better spent baking some more. So my dad ended up finding where our office is now was a commercial kitchen that he built out from scratch. He's a contractor. So he like put his head thinking on, we found a Hobart oven, an 8-rack Hobart oven, and a 20-quart Hobart mixer, and some stainless steel tables in a small space. And it was easy to like make for products for like the farmers markets and stuff like that. But then when we started growing the wholesale side is when we were running into that like, we can't bake enough cookies in a week, and like how do we keep inventory, and we couldn't even do a pallet in a week if we tried. So that's when you're like, are we going to do this, or are we going to just pull it back and see what happens? I think she was thinking more like doing like the D2C, like gifty side of cookies, but then we got into the wholesale side. So I think that's where the story pivoted to what we're doing.
Got it.
Yeah.
So in the early days of getting on shelf at Whole Foods, what was kind of early performance and how did you drive awareness of the brand to stores?
So when we were in Whole Foods, it was much different than it is now, where you have to go through the Austin headquarters and deal with like one specific buyer. It was back then, all the different regions had their own forager, and you had to go door to door. At that point, we were a bakery item, so we were selling our bagged cookies in the bakery section. So we were in 3 Whole Foods, and we were managing that, and then we got into some Wegmans and we managed that. Like, so we were just building, baking, delivering. I went in and did demos. That's really how we drove trial, was me putting my cookie face on and being like, hey, want to try a cookie? Get turned down sometimes by shoppers and be like, oh, that's great, But then some other people would come over and then they'd be like, tell me what's special about this cookie. And then I would start it in my story, and then they're like, oh, that's really cool. So I think that's where it started to drive some trial, and people would be like, oh, I bought these. I just picked them up off the shelf because I like the bright label. And at that time, we had completely different than what we are now. Still my great grandmother's recipe, but our cookie machine was churning out pucks of cookies. So they're like all 1-ounce cookies, and there were 8 cookies. So we're above a lot of our competitors' weight. Our SRP was a lot higher. So we decided to, when we were looking at building the brand up, and that was our model for a long time. It was a cute little gourmet box too. It was really cute, but it was like a neon kind of red, green, yellow,
Oh, totally
blue.
different.
Yeah, it was really different. I'm sure if you went on our socials and went really far back on Spritzal's Instagram, you could find it. But they were kind of like that Crayola colory, and we had our almond, and we had our lemon, we had our almond chip, and then we had a cranberry almond white chip, which was easy for us to do when we were doing it ourselves. But they were like, if we're going to be going to a co-packer, we have to source ingredients. It's going to cost more. Scaling it up, and the ounce weight and paying per unit or the toll weight or whatever is not the same as when you're doing it yourself. And we were going to Restaurant Depot and buying 50-pound bags of King Arthur flour and bricks of butter. Like, it was totally different. So I think that was like our like eye-opening moment of like, okay, if we're going to scale this way, we have to figure out how to make our ounce weight smaller. We have to figure out like how to kind of be more in line with what we would consider a competitive item on shelf.
Mm-hmm.
I think once we did that, that really helped to increase our unit turns without having to do the demos. We didn't even put it on promotion because I didn't even know how to deal with that. Like, we were just EDLP every day pricing, and me pulling up to the Whole Foods loading dock and be like, hey guys, I have your PO, and having to call every Whole Foods every week and be like, do you guys need an order?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was no EDI POs. It was no like
You were actually driving
emailing with
and
the
delivering
buyer. I was physically driving to the docks and delivering the cookies. So,
and calling to see what they needed.
yeah, I'd be like, hey, can I get an order, please? I need to bake something. So, yeah, it was crazy. And then I'm from Massachusetts, so there's this chain called Roach Brothers, and they found us at the farmer's market as well. I did farmer's markets every weekend on top of doing that. No life whatsoever. Friends and family, see you later. Like, I bake, I go to bed. That's that. So he found us at the farmer's market, and he was like, I think this product would be really fun in our store. We like local. there's about 30 chains, and at that time they were just adding these like really nice high-end version called Brothers Marketplace. So there's only 2 of those, and then we were in 8 Roach Brothers, and then adding in the Wegmans that we did and Whole Foods, and then some other local stuff on top of all of the events. So we're like, we can't keep doing this at this rate. And then we added to the chaos when I was doing a demo on a Saturday at Wegmans. TJ Maxx is right in Framingham, Mass. And so the cookie cracker buyer for Home Goods walked by with her daughter. I had no idea who she was. It was Saturday. She was shopping, and she was like, picked up the packaging, looked at it, tried it. She's like, this is good, gave it to her kid. And then she's like, I had to come back because my kid was screaming 2 aisles over that she wanted another cookie. Like, I'm the Home Goods buyer. Can we talk? And she gave me her card. So that was kind of like what drove the next chapter. So it was all circumstantial. I mean, it was really crazy how those kind of situations happen.
Yeah.
And then with that, introduction to Audrey at Home Goods, shout out. She was like our first big retail break. Then we were able to kind of pull together a little bit of a rebrand, get the pink that we have today, come up with some really fun flavors that are still with us, and the rest is history, I guess.
So what made you decide at that point that you felt it was needed to rebrand?
I felt like once, like, our packaging size was really one of our drivers, and then some of the other things that are really important to our brand story today is every time I did a demo, I'd be like, when's the last time you had a cookie with just 5 or 6 clean ingredients? And people would stop and think, and they'd be like, honestly, I can't remember when. It's sugar, butter, flour, egg, pure extract, and that's it. And that's how our product is made back when I was growing up. It's literally still my great-grandmother's recipe that has scaled up to like massive tunnel ovens. We've not done anything different, and we held that integrity of our product. So that's kind of where we started adding the call out on our packaging, which is really cute. So we have that on the front, like just 5, just 6. And that's our motto for any of our flavors that we come up with. We also just recently added a no seed oil call out as well on our newer packaging that we're rolling out here shortly, because we've never used seed oils, and that's really big right now. So just people are looking for that clean and simple. And then also I felt like our old logo was like this red spritzel in the middle, same writing and stuff, but it was like red, which I find for me is not my favorite color. Obviously, you can tell I love pink. And I feel like red is an aggressive color for me. I don't know. Or like an old schooly kind of color, and it had like this watermelon pink like thing around it. I'm like, we gotta simplify it, make it one color, and then differentiate with our flavors and like our coloring and our boxes. And my mom's best friend from growing up is a graphic designer. She has always done like up until recently, all of our graphic design. I was like, we need more like that Lily Pulitzer kind of vibrant, fun colors with the hot pink that stands out, put cookie images on it. Like, I think at that time, actually, we had an open window where you could see our cookies because it was a box. And just let the cookies in the product, like those kind of things, speak for itself. And with the boxes, we were stuck at either in like gourmet stores, which is great, or when we got approached by a broker, we did the fancy food show in 2019. And he's like, I have it in at Publix. I think this would be great. So that kind of drove our next movement into where we were in the bakery. Buyers were looking for like those clamshell cookie items. So we had a 6-ounce clamshell with that pink logo label for each of our flavors. We had our birthday cake and our almond chip in Publix and they do it rotationally. But then we were coming up with buyers wanting private label and stuff, and our whole point was that clean label, minimal ingredient. So that was kind of driving our whole purpose. And then COVID hit. So anything we were working on, it all paused. And it's crazy. I think it's 5 years ago because it feels like yesterday.
Right, yeah.
Was driving like first of all, I forget the toilet paper shortage of 2020. We can't ever forget. So supply chains were all messed up. Like, it was really challenging, and buyers weren't bringing any products in because they were just trying to get what they could on the shelf already. They didn't want to deal with
newness,
new items. So that was definitely a challenge at that point for us. But then we decided to pivot into what we are now, which is our cookie bites. So I think everything kind of like, I always say, has to happen for a reason. And at the time, it feels like you're running like a Jeep into a brick wall. But then you got to put it in reverse and then like take that Jeep and like plow through the wall if you want to keep going. You can have a bad day, but if it's something you want to do, you really just got to pull it together, have a good cry if you need to, scream into a pillow, and then get on with your day. Like, stuff happens. So I think that was the best move for us because our cookie bites are what really have driven a lot of our growth in the past 3 years. We launched those in March of 2023. So out with the old, in with the new, but still like that clean, simple, fun ingredients, fun flavors. That's really the bones of our brand.
Yeah. I think there's so many great points that you just referenced. One, the fact that you looked at competition to see like, were you in line and what changes you needed to make in order to stand out on shelf and be competitive. So I think that's just a really good note. And then I love the fact that you guys are always changing, that you're understanding what's happening in the now, you're adding things that are important to consumers at different points in the period of your brand's time. And then I think it's just really good what you were talking about in regards to sampling, because a lot of people think, oh, let's sample so that we can get new consumers to try. But also, sampling is a great opportunity to get other retailers to see you, like you saw with TJ Maxx. So I think those are all just really great points.
Yeah. I mean, at certain points, it gets really challenging when you get to this point, like of a brand and you're not present in a lot of locations of where your retailers are. Even though I'm Northeast based, a lot of our customers, ironically, are in the Southeast, which hopefully I'll be moving myself to Florida because I've had enough of winter now. Somewhere that has warm and a beach, I'll go to. Yeah, it's weird. So like we just had a rotation in Fresh Time as a trial, and we hired a demo company that would go in and run the demo. And it's really like the luck of the draw. Same thing like we've done this with when we've had Costco rotations. Demoing can be a great tool, but also it can be something that's costly if you're not on the right day or the right time or the right person running that demo. Like once it gets out of your control, that's where I think the challenge lies. So as our side, we focus a lot on utilizing like sales in store, buy two, get for like $6 or $7 versus our everyday retail, which is usually $4.99 to $5.29. So then I'm driving 2 units out the door. I'm driving trial because somebody's be like, oh, that's a great deal.
It's on sale. Let me
I'll
try
give it a
it.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's strategies for everything. LinkedIn is great. Shout out to all the people I network with on LinkedIn, including you. So, like learning from other friends and founders too has been great for us. But then also seeing, like you said, I look every day at what my competitors are doing on their socials, on their flavors, on what they're doing for their offerings in the market, where they're selling, because I'm looking to not take away but add value to the market and go where I know our consumers are going to find us and buy us. So I don't say yes to every opportunity, although I'd love to. Like we're really strategic about how we distribute and how we get our product to shelf so we can utilize that and be really scrappy with our spend because we're 100% self-funded, zero debt, bootstrapped brand.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how do you determine which retailers are the right retailers for your brand?
So we are women-owned certified. So there's a lot of customers such as Kroger, who has great diverse supplier programs where we're not dealing with slotting, which I'm sure you know can be very expensive.
Yeah.
And consumers, I was just talking to somebody at a brunch last week, a women's brunch, and she had no idea like the cost of an item to get on shelf. So I'm trying to look at my ROI and also look at the consumer that's shopping there and see what are the best options. Also, we don't deal with some of the distributing partners that some of our other friends in the business do. We have decided to go as direct as possible just because that can chew up and cost a lot. If you're going to learn something on a small scale, sure, but once you get into the big guys, they'll take you to the cleaner if they can. So we're being very diligent about our strategy, and we brought somebody in who's been really helpful in that recently. He's most recently come on board as like our consulting side, and he has a lot of knowledge in that area where as a founder who grew this from nothing and a music theater degree, had no idea what I was getting myself into. So
I was going to ask you because you said you were good in sales and marketing. So I was curious on if that was what your major, but no.
No, I went to school at Oklahoma City University. I graduated in 2012 for music theater, and I went to school where Kristen Chenoweth from Wicked went. So I was like a big theater nerd growing up. But I was always really good at sales, and I was always a top Girl Scout in my troop growing up. So, I mean, I feel like it's come full circle where I'm just out there doing what I do best, which is selling cookies and making people smile. And then I think like the acting and the sales, like and public speaking, it all comes back to like those kind of things that I've had to do. I know how to put on a show is what I like to say.
Yeah, those are great transferable skills for retail and to be a entrepreneur.
Definitely, because it's like nerve-wracking. Like we just did sweets and snacks, and the first day on the floor. It's exhilarating, but also like nerve-wracking because you just spent all this time and money getting there and putting your all into it. And I built my entire booth myself. I didn't hire anybody. I designed it. I built it.
What?
The whole thing. Yeah.
Wow.
So I put my minor in design into play there, which was designing our booth. So
That's amazing.
I like to be able to multitask.
Yeah.
Like that. That's like the enjoyable part for me is like getting out and meeting people too. I don't get to do that often. So I like doing that, but it can be like that stage fright where you're like anticipation of getting there and doing your thing. And then you're in the room with, you know, Mondelez and Hershey's and Haribo and all those guys.
Do you find those shows truly valuable in regards to growing your brand?
I think that they have been for us, and we are part of this program in the Northeast and the Midwest called like food export. So that's been helpful for us with in terms of like the spend for that. We get to reimburse half of it towards our initiatives to that. And the goal there is to be able to export our product elsewhere. So I'm working on hopefully maybe like Canada and Australia right now as two options. We've exported to Grand Cayman and the Bahamas. So we've done a little bit of that as well. But then, you know, we're 100% made in the USA, including all of our products and raw materials and ingredients. So you have to have at least like 85% of that to be able to qualify for this program. And it opens up every year. And that's something my mom found. She's super scrappy about finding things like that. And we've been involved with that ever since 2019. So we did Fancy Food Show through that. I've done Fancy twice. I've done Sweets and Snacks 3 times. And I feel like for our category and for the buyers I'm trying to go after, it really has a great mix of like independence, mainstream retail, grocery, club, and C-store. So that's been really beneficial for us. And I've gotten some great customers out of that just from like you said and I said, being in front of those people, because it's not always easy to get somebody to pick up their phone or answer an email. So I think being in person and getting your product in front of people is helpful. But like, don't overextend yourself if you can't do it yet. Like, you don't need to have the FOMO. There's other ways to get involved and network and meet people. But if you can and you find a way to be really resourceful and scrappy and like don't go blow $20,000 on a one-time thing. I've had my same carpet that's light pink for 5 years now. I just hoover it, I clean it, and I put it away, and I palletize it for the next go. But yeah, I think that's a great show, and I've already registered for next year.
Sweets and Snacks and then Fancy Foods?
Yes.
Those are 2 really good ones for this category?
I think so. For our category, cookies, cracker, snacks, those are 2 good ways to get in front of people. For me, my opinion on fancy food is it's great if you can find the right spot and be in the right location. But if you really know who you're going after and you know the show that they're probably going to go to, because buyers sometimes are only allowed to go to like 1 or 2 shows a year, if that, ask around and see where people are going. Yeah. And everybody wants to go to Expo West, and it seems really cool, but it also seems like there's a lot going on there. And I think Sweets and Snacks is just a little bit smaller, so the buyers have more time to interact and, you know, stop and talk a little bit more than Expo West that everybody's trying to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
It's like at least what I've heard and seen on LinkedIn. I've not been, so
yeah. I was just there, and you're right. It's so many choices and options and categories, and yeah.
It's if you know what you're doing, like in our category, that's great. I think Expo West is great for those who are going more towards like the natural and have like something that's not going to fit at that show that I go to. So yeah, it's just like knowing your category as well, know where your buyers are going to go.
Yeah. And I think to what you were saying earlier, like having a kind of a strategy on what retailers you want to go in will help like navigate what the best place is for you.
Yeah, we're very strategic over here. And sometimes my mom says I got a little ADD because I do. I have it. It's fine. But so I have to get reined in sometimes and like refocus. But it seems like every day I have something new on my plate that's already like a part of our customer base. So it's like we're trying to turn and grow in that way before we just blow out into too many doors where you don't know where to look and run your strategy. So getting the customer awareness that we have in our core group is important, which one of them is Kroger. So that's really cool. That's been a great partner for us.
So you are in a number of stores across the country. When it comes to pitching and getting that yes from the retailers, what does that look like? How do you prepare for that?
First of all, I have some broker partners that I work with. So for me, like we're a small team and there's people that already have those relationships. So I value those if the broker knows the person behind the desk great because that helps me get in versus a cold email and just hitting the right time in their inbox or not hitting a wall with their secretary that gatekeeps because it happens. I've been there, done that. And then I have a great presentation. I show up with my deck, my information, some samples, and then, kind of show where I would add value to their category instead of taking away from something else that's already on shelf. Because the retailer is looking for that added value. I think my value prop is we're adding a better for you option, and that's becoming more and more relevant in today's, consumer mindset. Everybody's stopping and really taking a look at what their ingredient deck says. So I think that's been helpful for us. And also like the family story, the woman owned, showing our socials on the side. And, we're smaller with the socials because we've been organic and it's been myself and I running it as well as everything else. But we have some great consumers that are really like stop and take the time to call or email or leave a review on the product, which is really great. So I think that our brand tries to be really interactive, and that's, my big thing is being interactive with our consumer and adding value to their life as well as adding value to the retailers that we work with.
And how do I know you talked a little bit about promotions as opportunity to drive trial and get consumers. Are there any other ways today that you're driving consumers to store, marketing, or even just brand awareness in general?
I try to do all the above what you just said. So like right now on our website, I've got Father's Day promotion going on, and I used my dad, and he's a really funny guy. So go check it out. He's a great video right now. Using those kind of, fun videos, or they're not models like out there doing stuff, or we do influencer stuff. So we'll send, products to people that reach out. And I don't really look at your follower count. I'm going to look if you're going to be like my type of consumer. I'll give you a shot if you give me a shot. So that's kind of what we like to do over here. So we have an affiliate link on our website. If anybody out there in podcast land wants to try some spritzels, we can do that. And then doing, just demos, or we do sometimes free coupons for things, or clip a coupon and get like a free bag at the participating retailer. We typically try to be really strategic about the ways that we go about it. I love to do giveaways with like cross brands that either retail in the same spot as us or are same kind of consumers. So we're like bundling a bunch of, 2, 3, 4 fun brands that have good following, that have consumers that we're going to cross pollinate of people that might not be aware of them, or vice versa. So that's kind of how we like to do it. And then sometimes I'll go on a little trip and I'll pop into a Kroger and I'll buy some gift cards. And then I say, I'll give you a gift card if you can find me on shelf. And
Oh, that's smart.
it's really fun. Yeah. So I like to pop around if I can. I like to travel. So yeah, that's just kind of how we like to do things, or work with our buyer at the retailer and be like, okay, here, I know we need to spend this much this year. We want to be strategic about it, drive as much units as possible. So when do you see like XYZ being successful? So I like to keep a good relationship with my buyers. I think that's really important too, because we're both humans,
Yeah.
Everybody's human.
Yeah. You're in TJ Maxx, Kroger, Fresh Time, you talked about Food Lion. How are you preparing inventory in order to support all of these retailers and building the right amount of inventory?
It's always a challenge, but I think we've really got the retail and inventory thing down. And I'll shout out my mother for that one because that's her side. She is really good about taking a look at our POs, and that also comes into play with some of the other people that we've brought in as knowledge on those kind of things that we had no idea about. But I have 2 manufacturing partners that I deal with. So one I can work with who can go down to like at least 30 to 50 cases, or deals with our shippers shelving that we have. And then our other manufacturer is our mainline manufacturer. So we typically try to keep enough on hand to fulfill at least 1 or 2 POs because our guaranteed shelf life is about 8 to 12 months to the retailer. So anything that goes under, that's when I would start utilizing some of our other partners. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with our product, but like having those good, secondary markets like TJ Maxx or Home Goods or Grocery Outlet or people like those that I can call up and I know our product will do well there. We'll drive some trial. It's really just great marketing at that point. And then they'll turn around and see it at the other retailers that we're at and be like, oh, I've already tried those there. So then I'll grab them here too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fine line. There's always cookies going in and out. And then my dad, he's a great, like I said, marketer. He owns a commercial roofing business. So he drives around with like cases in his truck and he'll be like, here's my wife and my daughter's brand. Give it a try. And we've had people order online after that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Spritzal Dan's out there hustling
That's
cookies too.
hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, we also used to enlist him to do demos at Whole Foods, and he's a good looking guy, so the women would stop and turn around and come try a cookie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We're a family group over here. There's a lot
Everybody
very
has a
family
specific
oriented.
role.
Yes,
And
yes.
speaking of that, how did you and your mom determine like what your main responsibilities were and how to kind of, separate it, but make sure the entire job is done in growing the brand?
Yeah. So I'm usually like we say I'm front of house and she's back of house. So I'm the sales and marketing and face of Spritzal, usually day to day and getting out and about and creating the relationships, managing our broker partners, and dealing with our manufacturer and then dealing with our retailer partners and brokers. And then my mom, she deals on the finance side and the back end. She's run my dad's company for 30 years doing that stuff. So she's great at doing inventory, PO, accounts payable, accounts receivable. She will hunt you down for every cent that you're owed, and she will read those deductions line by line, and she will fight them. So, yeah,
So she's perfect for that job.
she's great. I know we play good cop, bad cop. I'm like, listen, we've got to be nice. Like, no, she's fine. We're from Boston, so we're a different breed up here. But she knows what to do there. And then, like I said, we also brought in some people that have helped, like our friend Fred. He's awesome. He's come in to help deal with our strategy of promotions and expanding, and then kind of taking that and repeating the process and being successful in everything else that we do. So yeah, that's kind of where we found our strengths. And my mom doesn't have social, so she doesn't know how to run that. So that comes back to me. But I'm a millennial, so I'm still learning every day. The Gen Zs have it down a little bit more than I do, the TikTok and all of that. But yeah, I think that's my next challenge is marketing more on the TikTok shop and stuff. Like I've talked to a few other brands that are really successful on there, and
Yeah.
for me, I haven't had the time to figure that one out yet. If anybody out there knows what they're doing on TikTok, please email me because I don't.
Yeah. And that seems to be a really great avenue right now for discovery, for
Yeah,
trial, and to get your brand awareness out there.
listen, I love to scroll on TikTok, and I have bought so much stuff on TikTok Shop. So I am like a very influenced consumer myself. So there's definitely people like out there that are willing to try stuff if they see it. So I think that would be something I would like to add to our belt as we're moving forward. We've been so busy with everything else in the past 2 years. So now I'm gonna have a little bit of time, I think, this summer, maybe sit down and take a look see and do some videos now that it's going to be nice outside and I'll have a tan. So I'll be more likely to get in front of the camera. But yeah, I think that social influential stuff is really appealing, especially for brands in the food space. There's a big market for that and stuff. Pop Daddy is a great example of that. I think they're turning and burning. They're one of TikTok's top ranked shops, which is crazy. So lots to learn.
Yeah. So, what's next for the brand? What's growth plans for 2025? What are you thinking in regards to new flavors? I know you have the new flavor sign behind you there. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm not sure when this is airing, but we're about to launch our newest flavor, which is a brownie chocolatey chip. So this one is really yummy. I'm allergic to almond, fun fact, so I can't eat our almond chip, and I love chocolate, and I was like, we have to come out with a chocolate cookie that I can have. So I started working on this last year with my mom, and we were doing test kitchen stuff here at the house. And my best friend, her dad has a law firm and finance company with like 30 people in the office. So I did like 5 different versions of it, created a blank survey, and I dropped them off. And they did some surveys on that, and then just giving people samples
Smart.
after we nailed it down. So yeah, brownie chocolatey chip is launching. It's one of our just 6 ingredients. We did a little bit of a facelift on our packaging too. Like I said, we're always evolving. So here with our lemon flavor, it's one of our top flavors, but you'll see that we've swapped out the cursive for a more visible block lettering. We've also updated our logo just a little bit. Same thing with our Because Simple Tastes So Good call out. And then we've added the seed oil so that a little revision on the back
Yeah.
too. So yeah, I'm really excited for this flavor. So it's coming to Kroger. Go find it. We're in the Better For You cookie section. They also have our birthday cake and our lemon flavor. So
That's great.
I'm excited. And then I think we're gonna potentially work on like just under a 1 ounce like snack size. Hopefully that'll be something. I've talked to a few airlines that were interested for in flight, so it's kind of what was driving that. see
Well,
what
that's
goes on
great. That's
there.
exciting.
That'd be really cool. And then yeah, the snacks, like they're already bite-sized cookies, so it's perfect for moms who want, you know, something healthier for their kids' lunch box. Not a lot of sugar either, which is great. So even on like our 5 to 6 flavors, varies between like 120 to 140 calories total for 4 cookies, like 4 to 6 grams of sugar for one serving. So they're not like super sicky sweet, but they have a great taste.
That's great. How do you know when to launch a new flavor?
We have a core of 6 flavors now. We have two that are kind of like seasonal or regional that I think we're slowly pulling back on. And that was just really trial and error as we've scaled up and really see what the consumers are purchasing. Like we have a blueberry pie and a key lime. Those are our two
Mm.
flavors that are typically tend to be a little bit more seasonal or regional specific. So we're still offering them, but I think we're pulling back. Our core flavors that really retail across the US have been our birthday lemon, almond, and almond chip. But I was really, like I said, I wanted a cookie that I
You
could
could
have
have,
and double
yeah.
chocolate. Yeah, double chocolate everything just seemed, and we have a lot of fruity variety in our flavors, or like there are those almondy flavors, but nothing that's just like straight chocolate. So that's something I thought would be a great add to our product line.
Yeah.
And then we're always just, you know, kind of brainstorming. But my mom tells me to pull my reins back a little bit. So we're gonna launch this
And then you'll be patient
and
for a
see
little
how.
bit.
And then I'll be patient. I'll work on a new size before I add a new flavor because it took us a year just to get this one out the door. So I think, you know, we had something new to add to value to, but we're not just going to throw something out there just because it's costly and it takes time and packaging takes time and your manufacturer has to test it on their scale. And, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on the back end. We're not like Mondelez or whoever else is just can find the newest Coke flavored Oreo and throw it at the wall and have a budget behind it. Like totally different ballgame over here as a small brand.
Yeah, you got to be strategic. So, thank you, Taylor, so much for coming on. Can you tell everyone where they can continue to follow, support, and of course, buy Spritzal cookies?
So our website is spritzal.com. That's SPRITZ as in zebra AL.com. And then our Instagram, TikTok, Facebook is all at Spritzal Cookie. So we're on there. Give us a shout out. We do a lot of fun things, like I said, with co-brands and giveaways and things like that on our Instagram and our TikTok. So definitely follow along. We've got some fun stuff planned for summer. And then Kroger is launching our new flavor. We're also in Food Lion and all of that. But there is a store locator on our website. So you can go and it'll take like your geotag address and pull up where the closest one is. If not, subscribe to our email list because we have some more retailers coming our way this year. So I always put, you know, an email blast out to our subscribers. So that's where you'll find your information first.
Excellent. And I'll make sure to put that all in the
Yeah,
show notes. Thank you so much.
yeah, for sure.